Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters. Our look at the very best of France 24 from around the world. In this edition, we take you to the heart of the struggle against Al-Qaeda in North Africa. Our reporting team's been to Mauritania. Special army units have been set up with one goal: stopping the spread of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or AQIM. The Sahel region's become the base for the terror group, which has boosted its arsenal after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. AQIM has been able to acquire heavy arms from Gaddafi's former army, increasing the risk that they could pose. Our reporting team has been to the no-go zone in the desert with the Mauritanian army to see how the operation there is working. We'll be speaking to James Andre after this special report.
Desert as far as the eye can see, and yet it is a strategic area. This is Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb's turf. This part of the Mauritanian Sahara close to the Malian border has become a huge forbidden military zone, spread over more than 800 kilometers. This is Lemreya, a military base lost in the dunes. The Mauritanian Army's 4th Special Intervention Group, or SIG, is visiting. These men are spearheading the fight against terrorism in the country. They're always on the move, tracking down Al-Qaeda alongside the intelligence services. Lieutenant Colonel Sidi Ould Bouya is the commander of the 4th SIG. This unit of 205 men was created a year ago, specifically to fight Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda's style is to move in small groups. They move quickly, are very mobile, and have a perfect knowledge of the field.
To demonstrate its strength, the Mauritanian army has organized a maneuver. The military are not used to seeing journalists. Communication is totally controlled. The press officer intervenes at every faux pas. The operation begins. The men are concentrated. This is an exercise, but the risk is very real. AQIM fighters could attack the convoy at any time. Pickup trucks spread out in lines to maximize the field of vision. For this exercise, targets are hidden in the desert. The men must find them and destroy them. A few kilometers away, the scouts detect the enemy.
Fire at will. Destroy the enemy.
The units are positioned on a line. They bombard enemy positions, materialized by bales of hay. A column of trucks circumvents the position on the flank and attacks. The trucks are equipped with heavy machine guns. Some are fitted with anti-aircraft batteries, while the foot soldiers attack with RPGs. Finally, the attack is launched. The soldiers take control of the position. With the enemy neutralized, the units form a security perimeter and stand ready to face any attackers, a technique their French instructors taught them.
These are the exact tactics we would use in the case of a real attack against an isolated resistance pocket. First we set up a support, then a cover, and a final assault.
A technique these men haven't yet had to apply for real.
Since our arrival here, that is to say for the last 6 months, we haven't observed the presence of any terrorist or trafficking activity in the region.
This group has never encountered any enemy because the area has been totally closed off to civilians for 3 years. Previously, it was the crossroads of crime. Drugs, fuel and weapons were all trafficked here between Mali, Algeria and Senegal. Illicit trade that sponsored terrorism. Today, any presence is detected and controlled, which makes the area useless to traffickers. Lieutenant Ould Lakhal is a veteran of the war against Al-Qaeda. He fought in Operation Lemzareb. On the 25th of June 2010, he stormed a convoy spotted by intelligence services.
The operation was to stop an illegal convoy, but gunfire took us by surprise. There was fighting. In all, we arrested 22 people and killed 2. We took 7 Toyota 4x4s and another vehicle that was filled with drugs and heavy weapons. We do not differentiate between traffickers and Al-Qaeda. The organization uses drugs money to buy arms.
This is the result of the operation. 9.5 tons of drugs destroyed in front of TV cameras. To discourage candidates for jihad, the Mauritanian government imposes severe punishments on individuals such as those captured during these raids. These 12 terrorists know that only too well. 3 of them will receive the death sentence for attacking a French tourist convoy near Aleg at the end of 2007. 9 others were found guilty of complicity and imprisoned. We found the sister of one of these 9, Daoud Ould-Septi. She denounces the terms of her brother's detention.
They were sentenced to 10 years in prison, but the decision wasn't registered. It's not an official ruling. So until now, we haven't been able to appeal it.
4 months ago, the 12 men were transferred to a secret prison.
They were in Nouakchott prison. We used to visit them twice a week. But a year ago, the conditions became more restrictive. Then we lost all contact. We've had no news since the 23rd of May. Some say they were transferred by plane, others by car. We just don't know.
The Mauritanian Minister of Defense prides himself on the effectiveness of his new anti-terrorism strategy. He believes the Special Operation Forces, the Forbidden Zone, and a firm hand have paid off.
There is no organization, no base, no terrorist group operating in Mauritania. We cooperate with neighboring countries. With our military intelligence, we identify all movements in the dangerous Sahel region, and especially in the north of Mali.
According to the minister, Al-Qaeda no longer acts on Mauritanian soil. Yet, the police continue to prevent attacks in Nouakchott. These are the headquarters of the 6th Military Region. This is where the army stocks weapons and vehicles seized in anti-terrorist operations that took place in Mauritania. On the 29th of January, this car bomb was stopped at the entrance to the capital. In these archive pictures, it appears packed with explosives. An anti-tank mine was even strapped under the driver's seat.
Al-Qaeda wanted to detonate it in a populated neighborhood of Nouakchott or another city, but the bomb squad defused it.
Just 4 days later, the security forces tried to stop another car bomb. On seeing the police, the suicide bombers set off their explosives. 2 policemen were injured in the attack. Mohammed is the editor of Nouakchott Info newspaper. For this expert in terrorism, closing off the desert is not the solution to stopping Al-Qaeda.
This is simply a measure. It slows them down. It not only targets Al-Qaeda, but also applies to all drug dealers. The fight against Akim cannot be conducted by a single country, not Mauritania, nor Algeria, nor Mali. It should be a regional effort, but so far there is a lack of true common will because of issues between countries and diverging agendas.
Al-Qaeda is getting stronger by the day in the Sahel. These pictures show one of their bases destroyed by the Mauritanian army in late June. 15 terrorists and 2 Mauritanian soldiers were killed in the raid. The base was located a few kilometers from the border, in the forest of Ouagadougou in northwest Mali. In retaliation, Akim attacked the military Bassikounou base on the 5th of July, with more than 20 trucks. Forewarned, the Mauritanian forces were able to repel the attack. The escalation in violence has raised concern in the intelligence services, especially as many weapons from Colonel Gaddafi's arsenals were lost in the Libyan revolution. They now circulate in the Sahel.
We can say that the Salafist movement, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, have recovered sophisticated weapons, including SAM-7s. There is even talk of American-made Stinger missiles.
An arsenal the anti-terrorist forces will soon have to face. Back to the prohibited military zone, near Lemketi. We are close to the Algerian and Malian borders. The second intervention unit is about to go out on patrol.
Your new mission is to control the Khat el-Bared track, west from Louzetmar.
The pickup trucks set across the desert. 35 kilometers of rock and dust to go, with the constant risk of being ambushed. Their first control point is the well, the only water available on this track running from Algeria to Mali. Here, security is at its tightest.
The orders are strict. If I see anyone suspicious, I open fire.
These men who roam the desert night and day, supported by aerial surveillance, have created a buffer zone around the borders of Mauritania. But it will take true regional cooperation to rein in Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb.
Well, for more on this story, James Andre is here with us in the studio. James, how efficient is the strategy to close down large parts of the desert?
Well, it's actually rather efficient because these parts of the desert used to have activity in them. You'd have caravans passing. You'd have also people trafficking cigarettes, smuggling drugs, smuggling petrol, etc. But today it's totally closed, so any vehicle that goes through this desert zone is immediately, obviously, seen either by satellite or by plane recon. So, of course, the army is immediately informed that there is something going wrong, and they can intervene straight away. The problem is the price tag is rather heavy because the zone is 800 kilometers long and 200 kilometers wide. So we're talking about a huge area where there is no longer any activity whatsoever except army patrolling.
So this completely massive empty space, as you say, for the soldiers who are based there, life must be incredibly difficult.
It is very difficult because indeed there's nothing. We saw in the report that there's only like one well, and that is for hundreds of kilometers around. So there's very little water. There is, of course, nothing to be able to get any food or petrol or whatever. They have to move with everything on them. So what they do is they go from base to base. They do not actually have their own base, and they sleep in the desert. They can't put up camp because that would be too dangerous. They'd be too easy to locate. So they just move all the time. They stop. They make a sort of a bed with rocks in front to make some sort of a defensive system, and they just sleep there with their weapons, taking it in turns for the watch. So it's pretty difficult. They go for 3 months, and they're allowed one phone call in 3 months. After 2 months, when they've been there for 2 months, they get one phone call. So it's quite difficult.
Very difficult, as you say, and clearly it makes the soldiers vulnerable to any possible attack from Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, but vice versa. They perhaps can see them coming and maybe sort of find them sooner.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really like a kind of a cat and mouse thing in a huge empty zone. It's like, looking for a needle in a haystack. That's the problem, is that the thing is with the aerial surveillance. I mean, this is what happened during the last attack. The previous time when Akim tried to attack a base, they knew it beforehand, so they could actually defend themselves. So they do have that upper hand thanks to, as I say, satellite surveillance and aircraft recon.
So Mauritania says that it has stopped Al-Qaeda operating on its soil. How realistic a claim is this, do you think?
Well, I mean, we saw it as we were there when we did this report. There were attacks in January, in February. There have been attacks there was a base just across the border in Mali in June that was dismantled. Then there was an attack in July this year against a base. So it's not that obvious. What has disappeared, though, is, for example, Ansar Allah, who used to be an organization based in Nouakchott, who was actually, a Salafist terrorist organization that was preparing attacks, and that was taken down in 2008, and that was quite incredible because these people actually had a gunfight with the army in the streets of Nouakchott. So these people, for example, are gone. So you don't have like a big, massive organization that anybody knows of, But there are elements, definitely, of Hakim, which is still on Mauritanian soil and still operating.
Somewhere in this area, there are 4 French hostages being held who were kidnapped in neighbouring Niger, in the town of Arlit, by people from AQMI, it's believed. And clearly these people have been held for now over 400 days, still haven't been found, which again reiterates how difficult it is to operate and find these people, even though you think it's a big open terrain where you could see where they are. Are the other countries around the area doing as much as Mauritania is to combat Al-Qaeda?
Well, Mauritania is probably, spearheading this new strategy, which is the idea of saying, right, let's fight them with their own weapons, which is using these pickup trucks with, heavy machine guns on them. That is what's been done in Mauritania. Algeria has been fighting the GSPC before AQMI, which was basically Hakim spawned from the GSPC, a few years ago, 2006 or 7. So they've been fighting them for a long time. The big problem, in fact, is Mali, because Mali has a very big Tuareg problem in the north of the country, and there's kind of sort of a non-aggression pact between the government and these Tuaregs, and they sometimes share common interests with AQMI, and this part of northern Mali is becoming a really big base for AQMI, where they're operating rather freely because there's no or very little military presence there, so they control that area. There's been reports of them doing humanitarian work on the ground. They're actually drilling wells for the villagers. So they're actually getting a real base of people who give them information and who support them. So this is becoming an increasingly important problem.
Okay, James Andre, thank you very much indeed. You can see James's report again via our website, France24.com. Thank you for watching Reporters. Stay with us here on France 24.